Hey folks, how you doing? All right. Got an interesting one today. Beep 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 beep. Welcome to the Court of the EDI Jester. There is a guy on the Twitteroids from New York City. Okay, and he's a health and science reporter at the New York Times, and his name is Benjamin Ryan. I've got his link in the doobras for you to go and have a look and see what he had to say in this tweet. But he's brought us a rather interesting tweet around. Transgender health, right? Okay, transgender health. Now, from my perspective, we know the following. This is what we know so far, okay? It's deeply damaging to anybody under 18, from inception right through to the final snip, right? Okay, so we know that it's iatrogenic from the minute the kid hears the words gender identity. The conversion has begun if they're gay, or the damage has begun if they're straight. Either way, the damage has begun for both, right? That's the first thing. The second thing is that we know shortened lifespans, higher rates of self-harm, whatever it may be, osteoporosis, blindness, brain damage, all the stuff that we know happens once you're post the operation. And I would say it's about 7 or 8 years that the regret truly starts to kick in. So we know that it's iatrogenic at this end, right? That what they're doing is harming people. And at the other end, it's fatal. Right? So there is no point along the spectrum of age of a trans individual where it's a good thing. It's always a bad thing. And, you know, nolli, what's it called? Nolli nocere, something or other. Firstly, do no harm. Right? So firstly, do no harm is always my thinking about this. So Benjamin Ryan's brought us some really interesting information that I think is worth you going and have a look at. He's also provided a short analysis, and it's looks like it's been done quite rigorously, and he's provided the links for you to do your own work if you'd like to. So a large survey of transgender adults aged 50 and older found that about 26% reported contemplation of a suicide within the past year. This compares with an estimated 17% of the older general population. That's the first statement in his Twitter thread that screams for conversation. That's horrifying. But I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. To be honest, the medical complications of the disaster that the whole thing is, I'm not surprised. So he then goes on in his second tweet in this particular thread to say, here is a press release on the study. And this is available again with a link, which is saying that more than 1/4 of respondents have seriously contemplated ending their lives within the past year. New study shows trans-identifying adults aged 50 or older in the United States face a significantly elevated risk of contemplating ending their lives due to the compounding impact of various challenges in different areas of their lives, according to a population-wide study. More than 1/4 of this large pool of older trans-identifying people acknowledged having thought about ending their lives at least once the previous year. Now, I don't find that particularly surprising. I think it's the ones that don't that you have to worry about. Most of us do at some point. Well, I'll do this. It's awful, I know, but it's true, you know. More than this is a much greater prevalence than the 4.7% figure currently estimated for the adult population at large, and substantially greater than the current estimated prevalence of 11 to 17% for older adults in the US. Now, you've got to remember that older adults in the US and older adults anywhere may have various things that mean they don't want to hang around, right? Now, people don't understand that concept, but you do get to the point where you think, yeah, come on, let's get it done. Right? There are times when you get them and go, it's just too much. I want to go, I'm tired. You know, so people get older, and that's the sort of thing that they think. I know this because I've spoken to many people when I was younger who thought like that, right? Didn't mean they were going to do it. It's just how they felt. So this is a particularly galling figure. It's a harrowing figure of 25.8% of the people that have got themselves caught up in gender identity ideology, or have got themselves caught up in the affirmation of their own fetish or paraphilia, have a far higher suicide rate than the rest of the world. That's the rest of the people of their age. It's very worrying indeed. The new findings are published in a peer-reviewed journal, Aging and Mental Health. An annual observance honouring the memory of transgender people around this Trans Day of Remembrance. We then go to a third tweet of Benjamin's. A new study, evidence of syndemic effects influencing older transgender persons' likelihood of contemplating ending your life, results from a large national study, and again he's provided the study for you to go and have a look at. The study's authors, he says in his fourth tweet, state that with the sample size this large, 3,724 gender ideologists, people got caught up in it, at age 50 and up, is a p-value of 0.01. You'll understand that better than I do because I'm no scientist, right? This means that the finding that the studies show that receiving cross-sex hormones, right, so being given cross-sex hormones was tied to a 48% higher likelihood of taking life, was not quite statistically. So it wasn't statistically significant. The study authors further stated that the suggestion that receiving such hormones was associated with mental harm ran contrary to their previous research. So again, this is complicated arenas here being used. Then somebody asks, and this is interesting, was there a control for mental health conditions associated with wanting to end one's life? Yes, they did a multivariate analysis that found the psychological stress was associated with ending one's life. I think this is interesting. Go and have a look and see what you think. They can argue this all they want at the end of the day. It doesn't make any difference. Right? It harms. Full stop. We know this. All right? Okay, we know this because we've got the studies. And they can do all these studies they want in the world. I'm not a statistician, so I can't analyse it in a way that others of you could. But it's always good to have something come in that's got a bit of meat to it so we can go, hang on, let's see what this means. Does this actually mean that's what's occurring? And what is exactly causing these issues within this particular arena? So you can look and see. He's great. He's given us some really interesting charts and things to look at in there, okay? So they're looking at what happens in terms of things like transgender milestones or telling your family, telling friends, telling people, changing name, undergoing gender-affirming hormone treatment. I think there are those of us that are well aware that this dangerous gay conversion therapy, which is what it is, and child-damaging idea has done damage to people who are older. We need to get this gender dysphoria idea gone, and we need to go back to calling it body dysmorphia, and we should really begin using therapeutic and medical resources in order to end its existence full stop. I mean, that would put an end to it all, wouldn't it? If we can do away with body dysmorphia. And I'm sure that there is nobody that wouldn't get behind that, no matter who you are. So I would say that's what we need to do, is we need to look at why body dysmorphia occurs in much more detail. Now, GenSpect, all the other organisations, Safe Schools, they'll all be interested in keeping an eyeball on this. But I would say that we've got a serious problem which does not originate as a therapeutic one, but as an educational one. I had a chat with a father the other night who's been through it with someone who obviously is very close to them. And his feelings were, we could have almost said what we're going to say next. It's one of those. When you meet somebody, you go, my God. His feeling is that it is purely educational at the beginning. So my real worry is we've got to get it out of the schools. That's the first thing from my perspective. We need to get these external bodies out of the schools. We need to make sure that these children are not being introduced to this nonsense. And then we have to make sure that we spot the ones that have, if you red flag, seen it online, that's it, red flag, call the parents. Okay, that's what we need to do. But always interesting to have stuff like this come through. So thank you very much for that. The links again for you are in the doobries, so that you can go and see what Benjamin had to say, all right? And what Benjamin's provided for you to look at if you're predisposed to statistics and medicalese, okay? Other than that, I'll see you later. Ta-ra!